these two officers in Prime Minister's office under Netanyahu, hired by them, by the way, by him
Mhm.
himself, they were trying to turn the mediation to Qatar and not Egypt. There was a debate 2 years back: who should mediate between Israel and Hamas, Qatar or Egypt? Egypt had a
Mhm.
much historical ties with Hamas, but Egypt was sidelined deliberately by planting fake stories against Egypt in the favor of Qatar. And who did this?
Mhm.
Two Jewish high-ranking officers of Netanyahu himself in the
Mhm.
Prime Minister's office. So Qatar, I mean, it's remarkable that Qatar could really get so much into the Israeli domestic political scene and change the game from there.
Welcome to the Gist on StratNews Global. I am Surya Gangadharan. My guest is Khinvraj Jangid of the Israel Studies Department in Jindal Global University. Presently, and from our point of view, important, he is in Tel Aviv. And Khinvraj, I understand you had a fairly busy night overnight.
Thank you, Surya. Yes, I did have a terrible, crazy, scary night. Um, there were sirens right from 8 o'clock in every hour or two. A siren gives you around 3 minutes to reach to a safe house.
Mhm.
And usually these are basements in multi-story buildings. So if you're on the third or the fourth floor, you just need to rush. Don't take, I mean, not taking elevators, rush through the stairs to the safe house. And usually families of that particular, multi-story will all assemble in these
Mhm.
safe rooms, which are heavily built, iron door, and people stay there for 15 minutes. Usually that's the instruction. But unlike October 2023, when I was also here, unfortunately,
Yeah.
in the long spell of fear, this time Israeli Home Guard security, the interior security, sends these loud beeping messages to every mobile phone in Israel.
Mhm.
So there are two kind of sirens. The phone starts really beeping. It doesn't matter in what mode you put your phone. Even in the aeroplane mode, the phone would beep,
I see.
and then the siren comes. So they prepare people in two ways. That maybe a phone gives a pre-warning, and then the siren takes you to the safe house.
Mhm. So, what is your sense of damage or anything in Tel Aviv? I'm not going to ask about other places because that would be unfair. But any sense in Tel Aviv how serious the damage is? Damages?
The the fear was much, much, let's say, uh, worst kind. In a way, some of the ministers, in fact, the defense minister prepared Israelis yesterday that the price this time will be unusual for the Israelis to be prepared for. He also said these would be unusually hard times for the Israelis in the coming
Hmm.
weeks. And I got also worried that what was that signal about? I think they were preparing people to imagine something unimaginable, because Israelis have a long experience of these locally assembled rockets that
Yeah,
Hamas
yeah.
used to launch. And because these were locally assembled rockets, they didn't have much explosive ammunition or a very fast speed, and hence they were intercepted most of the time.
Hmm.
Iranians, what kind of missiles they can launch, what can be the amount of explosion in a missile that doesn't get intercepted by Israeli defense system, all of these are not known to Israelis. Iran and Israel hasn't really, they haven't engaged in a direct war so far. In October 2024, when Israel attacked Iran and then Iran attacked Israel in return, Israelis received something like 180 ballistic missiles. But even in those ballistic missiles, Israel had an extremely high success rate in intercepting all of them, American
Mm.
and the British and the French and the German, as well as the Arab countries, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, UAE. They all helped Israel. So Iran really failed in that operation completely. But this
Mhm.
time, Arab countries have not said anything. In fact, they have condemned very highly the Israeli strike. Israel would not disclose anything soon which countries are coming to its national
Yeah.
security in military terms. America has come out in public, so we know that Americans are working throughout the region in creating a kind of ironclad security that Israel needs at the moment. But we don't know which are the other countries.
Mhm. Mhm. Is it some of the reports I'm reading, Jangid, tells me that the Iranians claim to have hit the Dimona nuclear facility.
That's actually a surprising news. It seems like a fake news, which comes
Mhm.
out a lot in these kind of moments, actually, through social media and all kind of uh,
Yeah.
psychological war tactics.
Mhm.
Israel has not received any serious threat to any part of the Dimona area, which is in the deep south.
Okay.
Israeli media and the Israeli social space is very open, which meant from last night till now, I have not heard, I have not read any piece that indicates that something happened in Dimona. I don't think if something happens in Dimona, government of Israel will be able to keep it a surprise or keep it a secret. So I highly doubt this information. It seems like a very psychological uh, tactic to create a kind of impression that Iran has hit hard the Israeli establishment.
Mhm. Now, we've read a lot about the important figures in the Iranian military, including the Revolutionary Guards who have been killed. What is the assessment of the total damage that Israel has inflicted on Iran? And what about their nuclear sites?
Well, that's something that Israel has really put information out, even just yesterday evening. In three of their major nuclear sites, Iran received serious attacks by the Israeli Air Force, and the number of people that have been targeted. In fact, one of the self-congratulatory news yesterday on the Israeli TV was how days ahead, we are talking about weeks ahead, uh, Israeli Mossad agents and some of the locals that they have recruited,
Yeah.
they smuggled into to Iran drones and weapons. They are physically in the Iranian territory.
Yeah.
And what they did, they gave a very precise location of the scientist and some of their managerial and very high ranking officers, the head of the chief of staff or IRGC commanders, who lived in Tehran. So Israel really prepared a lot for this attack. It seems like
Mm.
in the last 2 months, when Trump was giving the impression that he's completely uh, shutting Israelis from carrying a strike against Iran, that wasn't really the case.
Yeah. Mm.
Israeli leaders were very clear in saying we are prepared and we just need 7 hours. A month back, they said if we will hear from Americans that the negotiations are not going anywhere and we can strike, we just need a 7 hour to attack. So it
Mhm.
does seem like Israel was much ahead in terms of its ground operations within Iranian territories, and they killed more than 8 scientists. Unfortunately, these are, academicians, intellectuals, civil society members, or maybe part of the establishment because they are scientists and they worked for the
Yeah.
nuclearization, not
Yeah.
necessarily making weapons. We don't know. But these people have been taken out. And Fordo is one of those rarest nuclear under the mountain installation. which is currently getting attacked. Israel has started a second round of attacks this morning, and the news in Tel Aviv an hour back is that
Mm.
Mossad and other intelligence agencies have incapacitated the Iranian air detective system. I don't know what do they
Mhm.
call it, but what Israel is claiming right now within its own press briefings is that the path to Tehran is paved
I
for
see.
the Israeli Air Force.
Mm.
So maybe today or tomorrow we can see another, Israeli
Wave of
Air Force
strikes.
going all the way to Tehran and getting back to Israel, like yesterday it happened. When yesterday the attack happened, more than dozen Israeli Air Force fighter planes went into Tehran and came back.
Mhm.
And if they have said again they can go, it means that something is seriously compromised in the Iranian air defense system at the
True.
moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me, Jangid, are they overflying Arab territory? Because otherwise, I mean, how are they going back and forth?
He said, this information will not be given right now.
Hmm.
None of the Arab country wants to be out in the open against Iran.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can tell you one more thing. In the last 10 years, when Israel has been preparing for this attack on the Iranian nuclear program, they set up a surveillance system all the way in Amman.
Uh-huh.
Amman has a surveillance system put up by Israeli state that monitors the Iranian nuclear program.
I
Now,
see.
this information has been very revealing for years. Everybody knows about this in the region.
Mm.
For sure, UAE and Saudi Arabia would like to see a non-nuclear Iran,
Mm. Yes.
as it was obvious in October 2024. So
Yeah.
even if the information doesn't come, I think they are flying, you know, through the shortest routes
Yeah.
covering more than one or two Arab states. Another very interesting thing that Trump, I think, achieved before this was this, you know, taming the Erdogan activism in the region. He, in
Mm.
fact, gave Erdogan a lot of free hand in Syria, which was pissing off the Israeli military officers for quite a lot of time in the recent 3 months. But even Turkey is out there to not really oppose any of the military operations in Iran. All of these states have said very provocative, that this is not something that they support and this is not something that they see in the long term good for the region. But I think everybody is looking out for a strategic advantage out of it. So maybe in coming days we will know which Arab countries did support this kind of operation.
Now, given the precision with which so many senior leaders in the Iranian military establishment were taken out, would it be, um, I mean, for all we know, the supreme leader is also in Israel's sights.
This is something extremely important what you just thought about. Yesterday, the National Security Advisor, Hanagebe, he's the National Security Advisor to the Israeli government, directly in the Prime Minister's office.
Yeah.
He said this yesterday that only military and Israeli military will not be able to take down the Iranian nuclear capacities.
Mhm.
He wanted Trump to now use and leverage this moment to revive the nuclear talks. But
Mhm.
when Hanagebe said that this is not going to be the end of the Iranian nuclear capacities, he was
Mhm.
also, in a way, self doubting what Israel will achieve at the end. Will it be a
Yeah.
comprehensive victory or will it be just another decade of a delay? But what
True.
he said, interesting, he said, we are targeting only the radicals and the IRGC members, we are not targeting any political figures of Iran.
I see. Okay.
So I personally think you are right. They can really target anyone, but they are choosing not to target certain individuals and certainly not the supreme leader, because targeting a supreme leader like Khomeini is to really provoke not only the region but even Lucknow will
Well,
go
yeah.
on a fire in India. Imagine what will happen in Lucknow. It's true. It was shocking to know this, but when Hassan Nasarallah was assassinated in Beirut
Hmm.
a year and a half back, 2 days after his assassination, there was a one candlelight procession in Lucknow, in Uttar Pradesh, by the Shia Muslims, calling him almost a messiah and a religious authority and a figure. So
Mhm.
the reverence and the position of Khomeini is, I don't think Israelis can, they're not ignorant of that importance. So they don't think that's the one. Another thing that Prime Minister Israel doing since yesterday, he released a video in which he's telling the Iranian people that I hope we will help your fight, and now you can stand against the regime.
Hmm.
And I want you to know that I'm with you on this, and I don't think Iranian people are Zionist, anti-Semitic, or wish ill for the Israeli state. But this is now the time to liberate Iran from ayatollahs. So I think Israel is aware. Listen, Iran has been the obsession of the Israeli political class for more than 2 decades now. So
Mhm.
there are nuances. There are people who really know Iranian inner life.
Tell me, given the again, it's a related area, Israel's penetration of Iran, can it be reduced largely to a Jewish community there? I don't know what is the size of that community or whether what its position there is, but there must be a lot of penetration by the Israeli Mossad of Iranian society, perhaps even their politics and their military establishment.
That's a very interesting thing, and I'm sorry, I don't really also know the exact or in around number of the Jews in Iran. There are a good number of Persian Jews. Uh, I suspect few thousands,
Yeah.
uh, not more than 10,000 people, and they have been extremely under the carpet, meaning they don't really speak politically on
Yeah.
any of these matters.
Mhm.
And they somehow, in fact, it also speaks something very interesting about the relationship that Iranian Jews have with the state of Israel. All of these people could have really left Iran
Yeah,
different times, but they didn't.
they didn't.
And
Yes.
one really wonders how interesting it is about the Iranian society, which is
Yeah.
painted sometimes as all evil by the Israeli radical leaders for making
Mhm.
an excuse to just, let's say, defame the Iranian way of life. But I think there is more to Iran, let's say, than the Shia revolutionaries, and there is
Absolutely.
more to Iran
Absolutely.
than the society which is deeply into confrontation with Israel. But these people haven't. If you are asking about Mossad's ring of agents in Iran, that has been a
Yeah.
very lucrative money minting offer. I mean, I don't think Jews would really adventure with that because they will pay a lot of price for it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
these people
Mhm.
don't really want to take any positions for the Israeli state. They didn't choose to come here to Israel, so they said we don't really care much about it. This is our land, this is our motherland, we belong here, we are Persian Jews. But for Mossad to recruit people in Iran is just about throwing mad amount of money. Why not Mossad? Iran, by the way, in the last 2 years of this war in Gaza, Israel has
Yeah.
got one of the most uncomfortable truths about its own Jewish people in Israel. Lot many Israelis, Jewish Israelis, not Arab Israelis. We are talking about the Jewish people of the Israeli state who got hired, paid heavy money by the Iranian IRGC, and they did the intelligence gathering for Iran for years.
Mm.
In fact, there was an
I see.
article, there was a sociological inquiry into it. How
Hmm.
could Jews be, what caused such departure? Uh, that Jews would be hired, that these Jews would really not look after the interests of the Israeli state and sell the information to Iranians. So within
Hmm.
Israel and within Israeli security establishment, it is extremely uncomfortable. And I'll give you another shock here about the Israeli, this aura of intelligence. There is something called Qatar Gate scandal in Israel.
Mhm.
Qatar bribed and planted, actually they didn't plant, these were the two very direct officers appointed by Prime Minister's Office of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu's office. One of them was the press officer, another was his personal assistants. They both were paid heavily by Qatar for
Mhm.
years. And even during the hostage talks, when for a year and a half there were hostage negotiations, these two officers in Prime Minister's office under Netanyahu, hired by them, by the way, by him
Mhm.
himself, they were trying to turn the mediation to Qatar and not Egypt. There was a debate 2 years back: who should mediate between Israel and Hamas, Qatar or Egypt? Egypt had a
Mhm.
much historical ties with Hamas, but Egypt was sidelined deliberately by planting fake stories against Egypt in the favor of Qatar. And who did this?
Mhm.
Two Jewish high-ranking officers of Netanyahu himself in the Prime Minister's office. So Qatar, I mean, it's remarkable that Qatar could really get so much into the Israeli domestic political
Yeah.
scene
Yeah.
and change the game from there.
So let's come to this man, Netanyahu. Is this all about political survival, this entire war?
Netanyahu's political survival is actually not much threatened.
Mhm.
Uh, if it was, he would have lost the election just after 6 months of the October 7th.
Yeah.
What kept his coalition alive is the most revealing truth about Israeli domestic politics. He is joined by extreme right wing, ultra or right wing nationalists, and then
Mhm.
ultra orthodox. Now, these are two blocks in Israeli politics which were almost pariahs for decades. No centrist party even could make these ministers who are ministers with Netanyahu right now.
Mhm.
So when the October 7th happened and the country went into this complete mayhem, everybody thought, okay, once 6 months, a year after, uh, head of the Mossad, head of the army will resign, and they resigned, and Prime Minister will take the responsibility.
Yeah.
Prime Minister didn't take the responsibility. They
Mhm.
said, fine, there would be a state commission of inquiry. No commission of inquiry has been established.
Mhm.
So Netanyahu not only could survive, Netanyahu could actually ignore the most expected outcome in any democracy of accountability. That there should
Accountability.
be a
Yeah.
commission, a national commission of inquiry, and there should be a accountability, political accountability. Nothing happened. So Netanyahu's survival is not served by this attack at
Mhm.
all. He wasn't threatened. He's completing his term. His term will end in October 2026. Israel will only see elections in October 2026. But still, this strike revives a new lease of life in the political biography of Netanyahu. Netanyahu, for more than 2 decades, carried this hawkish approach towards the region, keeping Iran as the number one enemy of Israeli state. Now, partially Iranian rhetoric, Iranian anti-Semitism, Iranian non-recognition of the Israel, Iranian hostility, Iranian proxies like Hezbollah are all legit reasons for any Israeli political leader to say, well, Iran is an existential threat. I mean, there have been many Iranian leaders who said Israel should be wiped off the map.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Netanyahu cashed on this Iranian rhetoric and created this complete, sentiment against Iran. So there are a serious amount of people across political class and the political ideological camps in Israel who actually share this sentiment. And many people were actually thinking that Netanyahu is not striking Iran because he doesn't really want to take risks. And they actually said he's actually a weak-hearted politician who doesn't take risks for the national security. So now he has taken it. So one of the conservative and pro-establishment newspaper, Jerusalem Post, yesterday had an interesting headline. Okay, Netanyahu has proven others wrong, and now he can resign. That his political legacy is restored. If this is the thing that he really went after, he eventually did it.
Yeah.
And now he can resign and we will forgive all other sins.
All the sins.
It's amazing. I mean, the way the war, the way the fear, the perception of the fear can really bind the society. So it's a very, very heavy thought across Israeli political camps.
So let me come to last question. What if Iran tries to target US bases in the Gulf? Could the Gulf states be drawn in? Could America be drawn in? What's the scenario building there?
Well, that's the worry. And I think Donald Trump was quick yesterday to say to Iranian leaders, I gave 60 days to make a deal. After 60 days, you didn't make a deal. Look what happened. But wait, much worse can happen. And now it's a second chance. I'm still giving a second chance to the nuclear talks. And I think we should sit and talk. So America is actually using this strategy to keep the diplomatic channels alive. I'm sure Qatar is, moderating some of the radicals in Iran. Many of the radicals have been, in a way, killed. So they think that when the commanders and IRGC is completely on its knees, maybe other moderates, like the president of Iran, who seems completely, pro-American and pro-Western, non-religious, non-conservative guy. So they're hoping on this political class to now leverage itself against IRGC and say, listen, we don't really need the weapon. Maybe we will do it after 20 years if we will have to do it. But for the time being, let's abandon the idea. So Trump is using this. Another way the Gulf countries are worried about is certainly the fact that if Qatar and the airbase in Qatar will be attacked, what would be the role of Qatar vis-a-vis Iran? I think all of these countries are secretly creating an environment where Israel seems invincible. America and the Western powers seem all out to defend Israel and create a sense of serious consequences that Iran will have to pay if Iran attacks the American bases. So only the use of the threat is the way they can really operate right now. And sometimes that works because it's a serious, it's like crossing the Rubicon moment. If
Yeah.
Iran really attacks American bases, then Iran is officially involving US in attacking Iran. So far, US has said and has maintained that we are not assisting Israel in attacking Iran. We are only assisting Israel in defending itself. So that nuance is the all positive, let's say, light through this crisis. Another very interesting thing that the Israeli leaders are talking a lot, but many others are also anticipating. There has been a very serious challenge to the regime in Iran. The question
Absolutely.
is, the question
Absolutely.
is, can Khomeini afford to take a risk for the sake of defeating Israel or taking revenge on Israel and risk his own political survival? I think that's also an inner deterrence within Iran. That yes, regime would at the end choose to survive through this rather than sacrifice itself for this anti-Americanism and anti-Israelism. Because let's be very clear, Palestinians were always a pony and an excuse for the Iranian, ayatollahs. Mahmoud Abbas, the only and the internationally known Palestinian leader, sadly, said it many times last year that ayatollahs have no business to. He used a very harsh language to exploit the blood of the Palestinians. So I think Iran isn't really existentially after Israel. Israel and anti-Americanism are means to survive a rhetoric and create legitimacy for what it does domestically.
Very interesting. Fascinating. Kinraj, great talking to you. We'll be in touch as this next phase of this war builds up. And stay safe. We'll be in touch. Great talking to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope to just have my 2 weeks quiet and do some academic research work and go back to Sonipat. But thank you, Surya. Thank you for this.
All the very best. Thank you very much. That's all we have for you on this broadcast. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media. Thank you very much. Good day.